My name is Keith Quesenberry. I currently am a full-time professor at Johns Hopkins University in the Center for Leadership Education. I'm a graduate of IMC program. I'm an instructor of 612, Audience Insight. Previously, I spent 17 years in the advertising industry as a copywriter, creative director. So I was the person Jeannie was trying to, she got tired of explaining to the ad guys like me what does PR do, because I worked with PR people, but I really had no clue what they did. Actually, I have a better idea now that I've gone through this program, and that's one of the excellent features of this program, is you learn how to be everything in IMC. So today I want to talk about why my Wi-Fi went off. Today, I am talking about 10 top tips for social media marketing. And before we get started, I want to open with a video. It was actually done by Microsoft Advertising. Is Joe still here? He's probably in the other session because he doesn't want to hear me talk anymore because I had him for class. It gives us a background of how we got to where we are as marketers and the situation that we face with our consumers and why social media is so important to understand.
Hey there. Long time no see. Looking good.
Yeah. Let's just keep this simple. I want a divorce.
What now?
I think you heard me just fine.
Come on. This is me. What's wrong?
We don't talk anymore.
I just put down a mill on a TV commercial just to talk to you.
Exactly. You do all the talking. I never get a chance.
Talk on our website, can't you?
Sure. If I want to say, order this product.
See?
It's not exactly a dialogue.
What about the print campaign? You can't tell me you missed the billboard in Times Square. That was like a 200-foot tall declaration of love.
You're saying you love me, but you're not behaving like you love me. It's not genuine.
I don't know. The agency said I was genuinely being funny. Genuinely being charming. They said you would love everything I did.
Could you keep your voice down? You're not doing a radio commercial. Look, whether you're funny or not, it's just, I've changed, and you haven't. I mean, we don't even hang out in the same places anymore. You're not even listening, are you?
Coupons. You want coupons, don't you? Look, come by the store. I got 2 words for you. Loyalty, redemption. All right? That was it, wasn't it? Let's just hug.
If you knew me, you'd know I don't care about that.
Know you? Sweetheart, I know everything about you. You're 28 to 34. Your online interests include music, movies, and laser hair removal. You have a modest but dependable disposable income. Am I the only one not getting the problem?
I'm out of here.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Oh, I tell you what, come back here tomorrow. I'll give you the chance to win a Bahamas vacation. There's a small chance, minuscule.
So, you know, being an ad guy that built his career on traditional advertising, I understood that completely. That's what we did. We did TV commercials and billboards and radio commercials. But something happened, right? Social media happened, and we can't talk to consumers that way in social media. It's different. So when we need, and of course, chief marketing officers know this. We know social media is important. We have to go there. A recent survey says most CMOs plan to increase social media spending 144% over the next 5 years, which is smart. But the same survey says that 82% admit they're still not social media ready. They don't know how to use social media. They don't know how to integrate it into their traditional efforts. And what's really sad is this is up from 72% like 2 years ago. So they're not even getting better, and they're getting worse at it and less ready. So I think part of why that's happening is the more and more we write about social media, the more tips we put out there, the more confused we all get because there's so many darn tips, right? So my purpose today is to kind of take a look at this dilemma and take a big step back and make it really simple. As easy as 1, 2, 3, social media for marketing. So I was kind of contemplating this one day. So where do we turn when we have a question? And Google, right? Okay. So how do we do this social media marketing thing? I went to Google and I typed in top 10 social media marketing tips. I'm going to find the top 10 social media marketing tips, I'm going to apply them, and then I got this down and I'm going to have success, right? I'm going to generate sales and I'm going to be a huge success. How many people here know the top 10 tips for social media marketing? Can you should be able to name them, right? I mean, the problem is there's 139 million top 10 social media marketing lists out there on the internet that Google returns, right? So, yeah, that's a little overwhelming. What can we do? So as I was thinking about this, and I'm searching the internet, trying to find the answers, I look up from my computer and I look out the window. I was working at home that day, and the FedEx ground guy comes, and he's delivering a package to my house. I look a little closer, and I notice in the dash of the truck, he had a box of Milk-Bone dog treats. And I'm thinking, why does he have Milk-Bone dog treats in his truck? So when he comes to my door and delivers the package to me, I ask him, and what he said was he keeps it in case of wild homeowners' dogs who run out to greet him with a bite. I thought it was pretty smart, right? And that's like street smarts. That's not something that when he started at FedEx and they handed him the employee handbook, I don't think that was in there. That's something he learned with his unique experience with his customers in his unique situation. So maybe, let's see, maybe there is some wisdom in these top 10 lists. So here, I'm going to show you a couple examples of what I found. There was Mashable gave us 10 small business social media marketing tips. Here's one, top 10 social media tips for small business marketing, to small business marketing. The funny thing is they don't agree, they give different tips. Here's one, top 10 social media marketing tips for hotels. That's getting a little more specific. Top 10 social media tips for business. We're getting generic again, but it's not small business. Top 10 social media marketing tips for beginners. We have Facebook. Top 10 marketing tips for Facebook. Top 10 social media marketing tips of 2013. So these are the best of that year. Top 10 tips to generate more social media traffic. And it goes on, and goes on, and goes on, and goes on, and goes on. So on this page, I have 16 top 10 social media marketing tips articles. So just on this page alone, times 10, that's 160 tips. If you're going to read all these 160 tips, how useful is that going to be to you? And then, this is my favorite. I found this one. 78 of the best social media marketing tips, guides, tools, and strategies of 2010 so far. So I'm sitting there at my desk and I'm pulling my hair out. Like, how can a marketer, no wonder 2% of marketers, they know they need to be in social media, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it because we're flooding the internet with all these top 10 tips that are completely different. And if we're honest with ourselves, and you know this, if you're a business person, the problem with these top 10 lists is one size does not fit all, right? You could be a B2C company, you could be a B2B company, you could be in the paper industry, you could be in the banking industry. Your customers are completely different from, so what worked for Best Buy has a great social media case study about the 12 force. Well, what worked for Best Buy might not work for your startup or your local bank or whatever your situation is. So that's kind of the problem with a lot of these tips. We could move. I'm glad I don't have Jeannie's book in here. I'm actually going to read it though. It hasn't come in the mail yet. We could turn the books, right? There's all kinds of books on social media. So I searched Amazon, social media marketing. There are nearly 12,000 books on social media marketing that you can buy on Amazon. And this is my small stack for my summer reading list. I actually read the 2 bottom ones already. Again, but what I found with a lot of these books is a lot of them are focused on specific techniques, specific channels, metrics, Facebook, Pinterest. None of them like pull back and give you that overall, like, how do I do this thing, right? So what we're left with is this. And all these social networks, what am I going to do? I know I got to be there. And you end up with this, analysis paralysis, right? This happens when you go to buy coffee or toothpaste. So, do you ever look at the toothpaste aisle at the grocery store? Whitening and extra whitening and 3D whitening and with baking soda, and that's what social media is like. What are you supposed to do? So, and even if some of these specific tips are valuable, and I'm not discounting them all, they're valuable. So let's say we read an article and it tells us 80% of top brands use Pinterest. So if you read that, you think, I should be on Pinterest, right? Well, should you? Well, okay, go on Pinterest, but how are you going to use it? What are you going to post? Social media only works if you have content, right? You just don't open the Pinterest account. And then how do you tie what you're doing on Pinterest into what you're doing on Facebook? It's not just as easy as, okay, everyone's on Pinterest, I got to jump on Pinterest. Here's another tip. You should tell a story in social media. I've seen that one a lot. I don't disagree with that. That makes a lot of sense. It's a good idea. But how do you apply it, right? What story are you going to tell? Where are you going to tell the story? And how does that story integrate with your traditional efforts? Because most of us, we're not giving up traditional advertising and marketing. Social media is supplementing it. So they're not really, this is a misnomer. I know Forbes is a respectable publication, but they're not easy tips. All these tips are not easy. So what I propose is, how do you find your milk bone solution, right? That on the ground, interacting with your clients at your business, unique situation, how do I apply all this and make it work for me? And my humble offering to you is, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and what we have to do is take a step back to some basics. My number one social media strategy framework, I have 3 of them, is identify your marketing goals and digital KPIs, key performance indicators. You might want to call them metrics. What kind of marketing goals? Pull out your old Principles of Marketing textbook, and you'll find plenty of examples of business goals, marketing objectives, and metrics. But that's where we got to start, because that's the whole reason we're doing social media, right? We're trying to meet a business goal and a marketing objective that's laid out in our plan. So I have 3 examples here, and I got this from Edelman Digital, a PR firm. I love PR firms. So this is one business goal: sell more stuff. Another way to say that is increase sales. Who doesn't want to increase sales, right? That's what the executives keep telling you. The C-suite, go sell more stuff, and that's a good place to start, and that's a good objective. We need to sell more stuff. So that becomes your marketing objective of, if you sell online, you want to drive more visits to your e-commerce platform. whether you sell on your site or you sell on Amazon or you sell on a retail partner like bestbuy.com. And then your KPI or your social media metric will be click-throughs from social platforms. And that's how you're measuring if your social media is effective. Now, if you're a store and people have to come to your physical location, it gets a little more difficult to measure, but you can do things like special offer codes, you can do surveys at the store, where did you hear about us, how did you come in, those type of things. So you can still, there's ways to measure that. Another possible, this is another big one, raise awareness. At our school, we have a lot of college students starting businesses in their dorm rooms, very entrepreneurial focused. I have a junior in my class who's on his third business now. Started a chocolate company, started some app company, and I don't forget what his third one is. But these startups, the number one thing for a startup is to raise awareness, right? You need awareness. People need to be aware of your product or service before they can actually think about buying it. But it's not just startups. Even if Procter & Gamble comes out with a new shampoo line next week, they need to raise awareness. No one's aware of the new shampoo line. So the objective there is to reach as many people as possible. Your measurement would be impressions or reach. So on Facebook, if people are, this is the vanity metric, but if people are liking your Facebook page, that's proof that they're aware of your product. If they like it, they're aware of it. Another take on this is if sometimes a company may need to revive a brand. So people have forgotten about the brand. They need to raise awareness so it's top of mind again. So one example was Got Milk. The Got Milk campaign previously, people weren't drinking milk. They forgot about drinking milk, and the previous campaign wasn't working. They came out with Got Milk, and in 2 years they raised awareness of milk by like 92%. So that was one of the objectives where they had to bring the brand back. Enhance loyalty. So deepen affinity with your brand. This is building a brand where consumers are engaged with the brand. And there's a lot of engagement applications in social media, such as sharing a page, making comments, uploading user-generated content. That's all engagement with the brand. And this is important because the loyalty, they'll continue to purchase. And a lot of businesses winning or getting to sell is just staying top of mind in the consumer's mind. So I used to work on a convenience store account, and a lot of what we focused on was staying top of mind in the consumer's head. So when they got hungry or they needed gas, they thought of Sheetz, and they went to the Sheetz convenience store. So think of it that way, you're building a brand, you're enhancing loyalty. The more you get them engaged with your brand on your Facebook and sharing content, yes, it's only sharing content, but you're staying in their mind, and when they have a need, they're going to think of your brand first versus Turkey Hill or those other Wawa, and that's more East Coast convenience stores. And then this is my my fourth one, and I like to call this one a change of perception. Sometimes a marketing goal is to change the consumer's perception of your brand. And my example is Starbucks. I forget how many years, not too long ago, many years ago, Starbucks was in trouble. They left their core business of exceptional coffee, and people were not happy with the product. And sites like this started popping up. Why Starbucks sucks, starbuckssucks.com, Starbucks sucks blogs. Everywhere, consumers were just negative about the brand. That brand needed to change the perception of the consumer's perception of the brand before they would even think about selling them a cup of coffee again or getting them to come back in. One of the ways they did that was, yes, they improved operations. They went back to fresh grinding the coffee beans in the shop and those type of things. But they also launched My Starbucks Idea, which was basically a crowdsourcing website to get people to tell them what was wrong with Starbucks and what they should do about it to fix it. So it was very valuable because the consumers told them what they didn't like about them, so it's valuable feedback. But it engaged the consumers in the brand again, showed them that the brand actually cared about their opinion, got people thinking about Starbucks again, and when they started actually making changes and implementing them, they got the fans back. And the Starbucks sucks stuff started going away. And I did a social mention search on Starbucks like 2 days ago to see how they're doing in this, and you can see, if you've never heard of social mention, it does these sentiment analysis and strength and passion and reach of all comments across social media. And you just type in keywords. They're pretty low on negative sentiment. So your KPI here, or your social metric, would be changing negative sentiment to positive sentiment. So they're low on negative now, and they got a decent amount of positive. Now a lot of people are they're neutral on Starbucks. So maybe that's something they can work on now, is try to increase the passion about the brand. So that's number one. Identify your marketing goals, back to basics, pull out the principles of marketing textbook, and identify those KPIs, those metrics, those key performance objectives, so you can measure whether you're successful or not. Number two, social media strategy framework. Determine your target audience, where they're talking online, and what they're saying. It just seems so basic, but that's the point of this presentation, because we've been inundated with all these tips. Who is your target audience for your brand? Is your target audience middle-aged soccer moms? I worked on a lot of packaged goods. I worked on like Turkey Hill iced tea, Turkey Hill ice cream, Campbell's Pace picante sauce. This was our target, and most food products are middle-aged moms. That target audience is completely different from older, high-income executive. Does anybody know who that is? Gordon Gekko, greed. Greed is good. Do you think what he cares about is a little different than the soccer mom? What about where they're talking online, right? Soccer mom may be more on Facebook. If he is on social media, he's probably more on like Twitter or LinkedIn or somewhere else. And then what they're saying. You can get a lot of information by going and, before you do anything, what is my target audience saying about me? What are they saying about my competitors? What do they say about my product and services? What are they looking for? You can find that information out. So start with basics. Who am I talking to? Where are they online? And what are they saying? So you want to go to them. So if Pinterest pops up as the latest thing, and your target audience isn't there, then you shouldn't be hopping on there just because it was in the top 10 tip list. Another thing is look at the kind of social media people they are. And I got this from Groundswell, the Liam Burnoff book. And what they did is they categorized the way people interact with content online. And they create these categories that kind of help us strategize, work on strategy for social media. So one group is critics. And they call this the social technographics profile. And if you go on the Forrester website, you can do this for free if you put in some demographic information. Critics are people that provide ratings and reviews on sites like Amazon, ePinions, Yelp, those types of things. And these are people they're critics. They go and review things, and they like to write reviews and give ratings. Then there's people called collectors. These are people that collect like useful links and articles, and they post them to social bookmarking sites like Delicious or Dig or BuzzFeed or Reddit, those types of places. They like collecting and sharing. Then you have your creators, content creators. They may publish their own web page, they may have a blog, they're creating videos and uploading them to YouTube. And then you also have spectators. These are people that they're just out there watching everyone else. They're active online, they're active in social media, but they're just watching everything else. They watch peer-generated videos, they read blogs, they listen to podcasts, but they don't comment, they don't critique, and they don't create their own content. Now, if you'd identified your target audience, and then you go do the social technographic profile, and then you discover that your target audience are mainly spectators, like let's say 80% are spectators, would having a social media campaign built on user-generated content really work in your situation? It probably wouldn't, because you want to match the type of activity your target audience does with your strategy. You might have to do something that's more creating your own content for them to consume. But if you have a large percentage of creators, you can utilize them. So that's important, and that could really drive your strategy in different directions. So how do we find information on our target audience? Where they're talking and what they're saying. We can go back to Google. Google is very useful for this. You start searching, finding your target audience, what they're saying, where they're talking. There's a lot of free secondary research, like the Pew Research Internet Project. They have all these excellent reports that they issue that give information on, who are the users on Pinterest, who are the users on Twitter, what are they doing, what kind of content are they sharing and creating, how many people have smartphones now, all valuable information. Other services like Nielsen and Forrester, Gartner, they'll do reports and they want to charge you like $500, $600 for the report. But a lot of times they have press releases and they have mini reports where you can download the main findings for free that can be just as useful for you. Or, if you work for a decent sized company and you can buy a social media monitoring service. Examples like Radiant6, Hootsuite. I had a student in my social media marketing class who was interning for the hospital, Johns Hopkins Hospital, and that's what she was doing. She was on Radiant6 monitoring for messages about Johns Hopkins medicine. And then what she would do is she would push comments into different categories, positive, negative, customer relations, marketing, and then push it forward to other people who could handle what needed to be done. Hootsuite is good. If Hootsuite they have a free option. If you go in, give them your email address, you can check it out and they'll monitor. You can link like 3 or 4 accounts for free, and that's a great tool. You can also sign up for alerts. I used to talk about Google Alerts, but I heard that Google Alerts isn't really good anymore. I think they just stopped supporting it. They want everyone Google+. But this is a good replacement. Talkwalker alerts. Put in here your brand name, your CEO's name. Put in here your competitors' names, and then you get these automatic alerts about what people are saying about those topics. You can put in a social media command center. Think about like NASA, where they launched the space shuttle from in Houston. And actually, I'm going to show you Gatorade's social media command center. They built it in the middle of the marketing department in their corporate headquarters. But now that I saw the NASCAR one, this one isn't quite as impressive, but it's still pretty cool with all the monitors and like something's happening in there when you have a room like this. pretty cool, huh? Now, I don't know what size organization you work for, but if you can get one of these, that would be awesome. And the people to staff it, I had to be very convincing just to get an extra monitor for my laptop where I work, but Now, before we leave this topic, I want to show an example of why this is important, because it seems so simple. Determine your target audience, where they're talking, what they're saying. I think it was 2 years ago, Pinterest seemed to come out of nowhere, and everybody was talking about it, and oh, it's great, and everyone should be on it, and a bunch of brands just jumped on it. And I found this is, Burger King. I'm very impressed with Burger King and Crispin Porter and the viral they did for them. Subservient Chicken was an early viral success that will never go away as an excellent case study. But what they did here, Pinterest was huge, and they jumped online and they created, and this is very, as a creative, I can appreciate this. It's very clever. They did makeup to make it look like a Whopper on her eye. But have you been to Burger King recently? Who is their target audience? Not women that are all into their makeup, fashion-oriented. It's young men that eat fast food. That's their target audience. So this may be very clever, and they jumped on there, but I don't know how effective it was. Maybe they have the resources just to throw a bunch of stuff out there, but it was unfocused, and it drew resources from a different area that may be more effective for them. Now, I also found on Pinterest, now this I think is very smart. One of the things we know about Pinterest is, of all the social networks, most of them are split evenly between men and women. They may go shift this way or that. Pinterest is overwhelmingly women. Campbell's knew that, right? Packaged good. Who's their target audience? Middle-aged women. And Campbell's Soup, a lot of the content, look at the content of the social network. A lot of the content's focused on crafts and home improvements and decorating, but also recipes. So Campbell's Soup saw an opportunity, go where our target audience is, give them recipes that they're looking for based on our product to increase sales. That made sense to me, thinking about the target audience. I'm not just jumping on a new channel because it's new and a top 10 list told me I need to be there. I'm going back to basics of my business goals, my target audience, and it made sense. Number 3, social media framework, strategic framework. Engage the target on their social platforms with meaningful branded content in a way that leverages each platform's key capabilities. The Campbell's on Pinterest was an excellent example of that. Their target audience was there. They created branded content, leveraged the core capabilities of Pinterest. It's all about the photos, right? And it was meaningful and valuable to their target audience. So this is where you're charming the consumer. In the beginning video, traditional advertising, we weren't charming. We were just beating you over the head with our message until we beat you into submission and you bought something. Now we have to woo the consumer back. And you need to plan how you're going to do that proposal. So I found this, I found a chart that kind of, it just gives us a place to start to think of ideas on what different channels there are and how they might be good for creating content. And this comes from Heidi Cohen. She's a social media marketing consultant. But she has this great chart, and she took the different channels and categorized them first. So first category are social media networks. And a lot of times when we say social media, that's what we think of first, the networks. We think of the Facebooks and the LinkedIns. If you work on a global brand, there are other social networks around the world that are actually more popular than Facebook in certain countries. You want to consider them. But this is where, the kind of content you create on Facebook are comments, photos, videos, right? You distribute the message through shared links. And you engage in conversation via comments on your news feed. LinkedIn, she has resume recommendations here, but LinkedIn's become a very powerful B2B tool to generate qualified leads. I would say that's an update, but it's also good for networking and job opportunities at the HR department. Visit the Q&A groups. That's a great strategy for LinkedIn. If you're a salesperson, you can go on LinkedIn, identify who the decision maker is for whatever you're selling, if you're selling servers, right? And you know the head IT person, and you identify the top 20 IT persons at big companies that you want to sell a $10,000 server system to. Identify them on LinkedIn, and then see what groups they're a member of, and then go in those groups. And so there'll be a group of IT guys and girls, women, and they have questions. Go in there and start answering their questions. Be valuable to them. And then when a contract comes up or something, they're going to be thinking of you, and you're using that as a way to kind of weed your, slide your way in as a possible opportunity for a sale down the road. Q&A wikis. Q&A wikis are like Yahoo Answers. But a new one that may be more valuable is Quora. Quora is pretty new, but Yahoo Answers can get a lot of I need to write my 6th grade report by tomorrow, and who can tell me who Ben Franklin was, those type of things. Quora is more like CEOs and executives and those type of people, and they're asking serious questions. And if you get on there and start answering their questions and establish yourself as a thought leader and someone knowledgeable, that can be valuable contact leads for you. Oh, and before we go to the next one, discussion boards. Discussion boards can be very valuable. I used to have a Volkswagen diesel because I had a long commute from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Baltimore, and it was breaking down all the time, even though it got good gas mileage. So I was always on the TDI fan, Volkswagen TDI fan forum, figuring out how to replace an alternator and how to replace the air conditioning so it would fix them. So as a brand, there are a lot of discussion boards out there with people talking about your brand. So you want to know they're there. You want to know what we're talking about, and you want to start participating and influencing them. Content posting. Blogs, we're all familiar with blogs, right? Text, photos, video, comments. Great thing about blogs there's comments. As a brand, should you create your own blog, a corporate blog? Should you engage other bloggers? Do much better PR pitches than the ones that Jeannie mentioned to us. And send them social media content with it so that they can use it. Important, if they write about your product, if you sent them something free, they have to disclose it in the post, according to the Federal Trade Commission, or you both could get in trouble. Podcasts are making a comeback. I don't know if you've been reading about that. Podcasts were big and then they kind of waned, but now they're rising again, and they're basically a lot of broadcasts is shifting to podcasts, and people are producing shows. And it's a weird mix of traditional like New York Times and Business Week and Forbes with somebody that started a blog and now they're a business expert and they have one of the top business podcasts. So it's this weird mix out there, but that's a great way to get on their shows or start your own podcast maybe, to be seen as a thought leader. Videos, right, YouTube. You can create a funny viral video, or you can create product demonstration videos. You can create videos that are useful for your target audience. Home Depot is very good at that. Their target audience are people that own homes, and they're weekend warriors. So Home Depot creates how-to videos, how to replace a faucet, how to refurbish your deck, how to build one of those things that that thing, yeah. And in return, they come to Home Depot to buy supplies, right? Twitter, Twitter's very good for the latest thing, what's happening now. A lot of journalists are on Twitter looking for story ideas. Twitter is Also, one thing I think people forget about Twitter is you can do pictures. A lot of people aren't attaching pictures to their tweets, but that can be powerful. Tumblr, I've seen a lot of brands moving to Tumblr. Tumblr is technically considered a microblog. It's more visually focused than like a traditional WordPress type blog. NPR, like they've been mentioning, you know, go to our Tumblr site to see the rest of the story, and journalists and publications are really using that. Ebooks. Maybe you can put together an ebook that shares some knowledge for potential customers. They can download it with an email. You get a contact that you can use later. And then we have ratings and reviews. Ratings and reviews are important where there's other platforms that have ratings and reviews, maybe a retail site, e-opinions, Yelp, if Yelp is very appropriate for like restaurants and those types of things. Or you can enable ratings and reviews on your own site. One of the reasons to do that is ratings and reviews are very powerful and convincing. Nielsen did a study in 2009, and it's been redone by a bunch of other people, that consumers trust the opinion of strangers much more than our advertising, traditional advertising messages. So it's very influential, and but not all brands do this. One interesting example I have is Patagonia. They make like outdoor type hiking, climbing stuff. They sell their stuff on their website, and they have ratings and reviews where what's the one with the logo on the shoulder? North Face. North Face does not have ratings and reviews, although I'm going to caveat that with apparently like 2 weeks ago they added them. But for a long time they didn't have ratings and reviews. You could buy North Face on their website, but they didn't have ratings and reviews. There was some rumors that they have quality issues with some of their things, and they didn't want people talking about it because they would actually be talking other people out of purchasing. So you want to be careful in doing that. But hey, if you have quality issues, then it's better to learn about them and fix the product. Then you're going to have more positive reviews. And then we have social distribution, social bookmarking. These are the Digs and the Reddits of the world. Basically, you know, it's kind of hit or miss with those. You're sharing your content, and for some reason, a meme can take off. I had a student who started in my class. He started a sports satire blog, and he was doing all right. And then he did a post about the NBA playoffs, and he uploaded it to Reddit. And for some reason, whatever he did took off, and he was getting like 20, 30,000 hits on his blog suddenly, where previously he was getting like 20 hits. So the social bookmarking things, I do that with my own blog. I always submit them, and because you don't know, something can just really take off and generate a lot of traffic for you. And then this is what Jeannie was talking about, the social media press release. Don't send the traditional text-only press release. Give them the content that they need to generate themselves now anyway. Help them out. Photos and videos and those types of things. So I like to learn by example. So I have a couple examples here of brands who have used these types of things in creative ways. And before we move on, just one more note about mobile. Mobile is somewhat connected to all this, but somewhat different, because you can have unique applications, such as you can create an app for your customers, which is good, or you can have checking in. Like Foursquare started checking in. This can be really good for like local businesses like restaurants if you need someone to come in to the actual store, and you can motivate them to check in and perhaps get a special promotion or something. So here's one example of a company knowing who their target is and reaching them with meaningful content.
We know Twitter can fuel conversations about cars, but can it actually fuel them? Welcome to the Mercedes-Benz Tweet Race, an actual race powered only by tweets and by the passion of its audience. The journey began on December 13th, 2010, with an open call on Facebook. In 10 days, 2,000 drivers applied.
Mercedes has ordinary people racing across the country while campaigning for support online.
The world's first Twitter-fueled race.
It's a real race. Once chosen, it was time for teams to mobilize their online communities, and they did, each in their own way. With the race fast approaching, a video was released of engineers testing a Twitter-controlled vehicle prototype. The video was followed by an interactive banner, allowing users to operate the vehicle using tweets. A heated debate quickly arose about the existence of the technology. The buzz intensified, and suddenly, the tweet race was viral. On February 2nd, 2011, 4 teams embarked on their journey, driving specially equipped Mercedes-Benz vehicles. With drivers on the road, the real action happened on Twitter, where supporters and racers generated an endless stream of content, photos, videos, and tweets. This fuel not only kept the cars moving, but also served as the glue that kept the community engaged and entertained. Meanwhile, team location and progress were chronicled in real time at mbtweetrace.com. And as the bond between supporters and racers grew, it created a wave that swept across the Twitter sphere and reached millions of people. One team even became a trending topic. The tweet race was about more than just cars at a finish line. It was about strangers in far-flung places, bound together by a hashtag, rallying for a common goal.
So that's pretty clever. It's beyond knowing your target audience. It's that creative idea, that spin that's on top of it. And Twitter was I think that's a great platform for them to choose based on knowing who the target audience would be for Mercedes. This is another example of, this is a website that Lego created. I think it's called Lego Create. And if you go on this website, it's basically where designers, inventors, amateur users of Lego, they create their Lego creations and they share them via photos and videos. And so what's really happening here is it's user-generated content built around the brand, and then that gets shared across the internet on other social media channels, driving traffic back here. The other benefit is they actually get feedback and new product ideas. They've gotten a lot of new Lego creation ideas that they turn into sets that they actually sell down the road. So this is a win-win for them. They're engaging their fans, they're creating content, and they're sharing it across the internet. This is an example. I was on my way to the Sting Paul Simon concert, and I know someone's going to laugh. There's a joke in there somewhere. Sting and Paul Simon together, really? They didn't actually play together. It was like Sting would come out for a couple songs, he would go backstage, then Paul Simon would come out, and But it's hard to get really good bands in central Pennsylvania. But anyway, we were on our way to the concert with my friends, and Foursquare gives me this message because we were driving by it, location. The gas station, people talk about the pulled pork and whatever. And so we pull in the gas station. It's actually a restaurant that's put into an old gas station. And I'm reading people put tips on Facebook, and people kept recommending the pulled pork, get the pulled pork. So I got the pulled pork. My friends kept making fun of me for being on Foursquare. So they ordered different things. When the food came, their food was like awful, and they were complaining. But the pulled pork was amazing. And I'm like, this is like one of the best meals I've ever had. So now are you making fun of me for being on Foursquare? At Johns Hopkins, I was walking by the library during finals week last spring, and this one popped up. Single study carrels are available every day in the building with blue couches, nice location for quiet study. They know their target audience. They knew what they were thinking about that time period, and they were trying to get lure people in to the library. So they know where their students are, they know what they're thinking about, and what they would value at the time. This one, I wish I could take credit for this, but I used to work at BBDO on, one of the big accounts I worked on was Delta Airlines. But that was years before social media even existed. Fast forward today, BBDO did this campaign and for REI, and because I think it's brilliant because it engages the consumer, it knows what their target audience cares about, and they came up with a really clever way to generate a lot of content because social media is successful with fresh, constantly generated content.
There are 1,440 minutes in a day, 1,440 opportunities to step outside, to experience something new, to see the world a little differently. Introducing the REI 1440 Project, a celebration of every single minute spent outside. It began as an empty timeline, an open invitation for the outdoor community to submit their favorite outdoor photos. The site is able to tell what time each photo was taken by reading the metadata that's embedded in every digital photograph, and then displays the photo based on that time. With the help of Facebook and Twitter, we spread the word, and within days, the site went from this to this to this, and eventually to this. And what's been most impressive is not just the number of photos uploaded, but the photography itself. The REI 1440 Project, for the love of outside.
I mean, if you went to Corvus to buy some of those photos, it'd be like $10,000, $20,000, the quality of those photos, and they're getting it for free. And they're engaging their consumer and getting more content to consume. Very, very smart. This example is near and dear to my heart. I currently drive a Honda Civic hybrid because of my long commute again. But one day, I hope to drive one of these. And maybe probably when my kids are out of college or something. But in the meantime, I get to go to this site and I get to do the Mustang Customizer, and I can dream and customize what Mustang I will buy eventually. But they have great things like you can download the app. I actually have the app where I can customize my Mustang. You know, they have a contest and they feature them. There's they're all over the social media, and I think I have the sound. That's what I want. That my Civic does not sound like that. It's not. That's what I really wanted for. So they know their target audience and they're playing to it with the content that they're going to really like. And I'm adding this. This isn't a number 4 social media strategy framework. This is more of an addendum, because a lot in these talks and these tips, we tend to focus on consumer B2C. And I know a lot of you work in B2B and you always feel left out. And people will say, well, social media, it doesn't work for B2B, it only works for B2C. Well, I want to give you this example. This is a campaign I worked on at my previous advertising agency. And it was B2C, and we built it around social media. And I think it's a good case study. Those are my coworkers, by the way. I mean, some of you have probably been to trade shows, and it's this huge room, and there's 2,000 people with these little tables trying to sell you something. How do you stand out? This stood out. It used social media. My coworkers dressed in funny costumes. I got out of that. And they landed 2 huge accounts. Table turners are basically wipes that you clean off a table after someone left, and you turn the table over for the next customer. And they sold them to Burger King and Dairy Queen. So, in summary, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Identify your marketing goals, digital KPIs, determine target audience, where they're talking online, what they're saying, engage the target on the platforms with meaningful branded content in a way that leverages each platform's capabilities. This is a lot simpler than the nearly 140 million social media marketing tips that may or may not be good for your specific situation. And hopefully you can avoid analysis paralysis. It'll get you out of the starting blocks, and maybe you can feel a little bit more ready for social media integration, and it could end up being a treat for you and your customers in the end. Thanks. And by the way, I encourage you, even if you're in social media, to lift your head from the screen once in a while. Because I'm looking at the screen and I can't figure this out. And then I looked up and I saw the FedEx ground guy, and that's what inspired this whole thing. So look out to the world once in a while and experience life.